Good afternoon and welcome to Cold Chain Insights, the podcast that focuses everything temperature-controlled logistics for the pharmaceutical industry. This week, I'm delighted to be joined by Stavros, who is Head of Global Healthcare, Cargolux Airlines, and the Chairman of Cold Chain Association. Stavros, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few things about myself and obviously a few things about our association.
Good to have you on. I know we've been around trying to get a few weeks to trying to get you on the podcast, so I appreciate you taking
Yeah,
the time. I think a really great place to start. I mean, you've had a long career in the space, and you've got as I say, many years under your belt in terms of this area. If you could talk us through your career so far, that's always a great place to start. And then a bit about what you're doing at Cold Chain Association, and obviously your role there at Cargolux at the moment.
yeah. I think I will not have to, I would need probably quite a long time to explain to you what I've done over the last 30 years. But I think let me eventually step the journey maybe 15 years after I started Cargolux, where we as an all cargo carrier got the chance to fly pharmaceuticals, which actually never given the chance before. In all fairness, everything was done with PAX carriers, and yeah, we got the chance to get into this segment. And from that day, it started an interesting journey for myself and also for the company, creating awareness and the differences of operating a cargo plane rather than a passenger plane when it comes to tarmac time, when it comes to flexibility, when it comes to various other things like having our GDP certification. We've done our aircraft thermal analysis, developed together with DuPont at the time and my colleagues in operations, our thermal cover, which right now is within Cold Chain Technologies. Slowly, but surely, a lot of shippers and forwarders got to know the positive sides of using a cargo carrier, especially when it comes to tarmac time, minimizing the tarmac time or limiting the tarmac time, not really completely avoiding it because it's not possible. And out of there, we are where we are today, a known company where customers feel comfortable to use us. We, let's say, 100%. Successful all the time. It would be great, even though we are a super new company in that sense of technology with our aircrafts. We're still having humans to do the job. Or here and there are some mishaps. In all fairness, I think we're doing quite well. So that was a little bit, let's say, my journey. But if I have to go all the way back, then I started basically as a sales trainee, went to various departments within the organization, from sales, from reservations, from central marketing. And then, yeah, all this came together. And of course, being in a company like me over 30 years, where this company had 3 aircraft to now 30, yeah, there's so many stories I can say, but I concentrate on the pharmaceuticals. And I'm just happy together with my operational people to have managed to put the company Luxembourg and its hub onto the map of this industry. And after 20 years, we are still happy to be around and being one of the also not main carriers, but one of the carriers which also forwarders and shippers would like to use.
Yeah, okay. And so for people who aren't aware of your other sort of role, which is the chairman of Cold Chain Association, can you talk us through CCA,
Yeah,
what it does, how it fits into the industry, and maybe your role within
yeah,
that?
yeah. Good question. Actually, the association is around 23, 24 years around. And it all actually started in Spain with the first, let's say, conference, which was at the time by our senior vice president, sales and marketing. The idea was to listen to that. The statement alone, it's quite interesting. So the minimum requirement, how to handle temperature control cargo, be it perishable and pharmaceuticals. That was the ultimate goal. In the meantime, a lot of things have changed. We are now, as I said, around 24 years in this world. We're representing forwarders, we're representing airline, ground handling agents, technology companies, and actually would like to be. I mean, if I have to compare myself with other associations, we are rather smaller associations because we are, I think, smaller. Certain type of projects we can deliver much faster. Why? Because simply we are so small. Our providers or our members easier to deliver on these projects. If I take, for example, over the years, some success stories we have delivered was that things like when the air cargo thermal blanket came into the world, they came and represented in our Cushion Association. So we created the network, and at the time, another big company bought a lot of the thermal blankets. We have been part also to give our input when it comes to the IATA Chapter 17, basically the label. We had also our input. So in a nutshell, I would say our association is mainly there to be what would be the right word to say, is bring people together, having the same ideas and thoughts how to get pharmaceutical goods transported in a manner that everybody within the chain is happy with, that we understand what is our responsibility, and also give inputs like together with IATA to tell them this is eventually what the industry needs. This is a little bit what we are doing. And of course, we have a quite interesting board also in our association, where we are trying to find a lot of, like right now, for example, it says a lot about sustainability. It's great that we have a member in our association which is producing sustainable packaging, and it's coming more and more onto the market. So small association. We like to bring little projects helping the industry to create new standards, if possible. Obviously, we will have to give those kind of standards to IATA and some others in order to implement them. But whoever wants to join our association, and even though if it's a small project but innovative one, we are there to help with our members to create and deliver such a project. If I take, for example, the project nothing to do with pharma, but for example, with blueberries we have done out of Johannesburg, it was quite interesting to see that everybody accepts this type of product in the industry for 2 to 8 degrees, which is great. But then we found out that actually the best way of transporting such products is 0 degrees. And within our industry, we know we can actually not maintain it. So why do we accept it? There's nothing to do with pharma, but these are the kind of things we are finding easier to develop. And I think I can only recommend everyone to have a look on our webpage to see all the projects we are doing. And we also work together with Pharma.io, which was also another interesting project where, for example, we joined forces to be part of a white paper which was proposed by Pharma.io, Health for Food, where we try to explain the importance of airlift when it comes to certain regions. So if I take now COVID, if I take Africa, during COVID, a lot of lift has been taken out of these regions. And what was the result of it? That the people in these regions also need healthcare and other commodities. And we need to feed the West, as we say. So when we go into Africa and we come back with either flowers or perishables, if you cut the lift, then all of a sudden you have a gap. And that's why on one side we fly. That's why we say health, so bringing pharmaceutical goods. And the other side we fly back and bring perishables into the Western world, into Europe or into North America.
Yeah.
So I think that was also a very, very interesting, I would say, project, which was quite nice and well documented. And I think everyone who is a member in this association can have a copy of this white paper, not with CCA, but with Pharma.io.
And I saw that your new treasurer and board members, obviously you're involved with this, were driving projects comparing air to ocean and sea freight. Sort of sensitive products. Well, I mean, and like the entire industry is looking at this. We talk about it a lot on this podcast in terms of the conversations we had. So, what's your view on that, and how involved is CCA in those sort of white papers and sort of analysing those switches?
Yeah, since we have a member from South Africa, it's PPCEB, which they're setting the standards for anything what is exported in perishables out of South Africa. Of course, when he did the project for air freight, he immediately combined it also with sea freight to see what are the big differences. And astonishingly enough, he found out that on some, let's say, commodities, in terms of speed, sea freight was almost equally, let's say, fast, right? But the interesting part of me, whatever they're talking about, is the comparison between sea freight and air freight is it has been always there, will be, and it will continue to be there. It doesn't mean because now things are moving to ocean freight, there is less business for air freight, because there are new commodities coming up. And then, let's say, I always take the example of flat screens from Samsung. I know it's an old one, but when the first flat screen came out, you had to pay 1,000, 3,000. The bigger you wanted, you had to pay up to 5,000 euros. So air freight was not a problem. And all of a sudden, this type of product became a commodity, meaning that it was so much in the market that it could usually go ocean freight. Did we suffer? Well, maybe in the beginning, but in the meantime, again, air freight, has picked up because other commodities are coming in, which need to be then transported and be put on the market. So I think, yes, ocean freight will always be there. And anyhow, any type of commodity in this world of trading, we need every type of, or any mode of transportation, road feeder service, ocean freight, air freight, you name it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the other thing I wanted to touch on was I've been lucky enough to be to your facility, Stavros. You showed me around. I've actually and it really stuck to me when we went into that aircraft and you talked about the temperature controlled restrictions inside an aircraft and how they can be quite challenging. And Boeing recently shared insights on aircraft temperature control performance, which was very interesting. How might these findings improve reliability of pharma and air shipments, do you think? And what's your views on it?
I think the improvement is a better understanding of whether shipper and forwarders how an aircraft works. Once you understand this and what you can do in an aircraft, what you cannot do in an aircraft. As I always been saying, an aircraft is not a fridge. You're using normal aircon system to bring down the temperature. And the more knowledge you have about this, and the more, how can I say, honest you are with your partners, in this case your customers, and make them understand what are the not the expectations, but what are the things you can do and cannot do, then it becomes also easier to explain to them. But I think obviously if you go in a lower deck, eventually you find not better performance, but easier to maintain in temperature in the lower deck because you close the doors.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in a cargo plane, be it Cargolux or any other operator, and you open both doors, there you have already the first difficulty. But we believe that we managed to, we managed to actually to deliver what we promised to the customers, that we can maintain, always underline maintain, not guarantee. There is no such thing. And I think if we all parties work together very, very well, and capitalizing on the short transit time, then I think everybody can benefit from that.
And do you think there will be a time when the infrastructure and the build out of an aircraft will be more robust in terms of temperature control from what it is today?
It's already robust what is existing, but I'm pretty sure now if the new aircraft will be delivered in the next years, I believe, as you rightly said, so that, and you read it, that Boeing also understood the importance of temperature control cargo, and they are probably doing certain, I mean, I'm not involved how this aircraft has been built, but what we hear is that for sure they understood the importance of temperature control cargo, and they're doing, they will deliver probably in the years to come. I would not say a better performant aircraft, but maybe eventually how can I say, more contributing to the temperature as we have eventually today.
Yeah. And how much sorry, and just my own question was in terms of that inside the aircraft when those doors are open on the tarmac and the challenges of an aircraft, how much knowledge do you think is in the industry about that problem? How much an issue it is when you're talking to customers? Are they aware of this and they're quite sort of au fait with what you're talking about, or is it news to them?
I think it took some time to explain. This industry needs, as I said before, and I'm sorry to repeat myself, we need all mode of transportations. It doesn't mean we are better and they're not good. Just a different process. When you have a pallet been delivered to a passenger aircraft, the process of this is completely different from a cargo carrier because it takes a bit longer time. So the pallet is on the tarmac, it's next to the aircraft. Way before we could think about it. It could be 2 hours, it could be 2.5 hours, no matter what the temperature is out there. When you're using cargo carriers, obviously the cargo plane itself, it will never park next to the passenger gate. It will always park to close proximity to the warehouse. So you're capitalizing already on the tarmac time because the tarmac time from the parked cargo craft to the warehouse is obviously much shorter than bringing it from the passenger gate. So I think the forwarders and the shippers, especially the shippers, the ones who at least came to Luxembourg, have seen that. It's obviously an eye-opener. Again, you need everyone in this transportation, and we are playing our part in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And you've been involved with CCA since its early days, 2003, I think, is when you first got involved. How has temperature-sensitive supply chains actually changed in that time since you started, and where do you think we still need to make improvements, in your opinion?
So many things have come in. If I take just the RFID tags capturing the temperature when it's on the product, while before you would have said, okay, can you maintain the temperature? Yeah, somebody would have said no, but eventually we didn't have all the technology to capture this, which right now you have the tags, you have control towers that follow you step by step. All these are really new innovations which didn't before. And on top of it, if you say that you're going to deliver this, you better deliver, because they control every little step. And I think that is already a big thing to change. And
Mm.
in all fairness, a lot of airports and ground handling agents, airlines and forwarders understood the importance, and they have invested in training and in innovation. I think that is in the benefit for everyone. Can you do something more? You can always do something more. But I would say already by now, we have so much information, we have so much data, and we still want to have more data. I'm asking myself, okay, but how much data do we want? The discussion is quite often, who is the owner of the data? So we have so much innovation, and sometimes I think it becomes more complex, but it shouldn't be. And I think it would be great to create a trust within the industry that we can deliver, because again, all the information is there. And in all these years where I was allowed, and thankful to the company I'm working for, that they allowed me to go around and speak and also learn. A lot of times we say the same things. A lot of times we say collaboration. A lot of times we say about changing. A lot of times we talk about sharing. And when it's there to be shared, we start thinking, okay, hang on a moment, who is the data owner? Who is to share something? And I think we're not talking about commercial stuff. We're talking about operations. And I think it's great if companies can come together and work on this. And it's happening already right now. I'm sure you must have read a lot about cool corridors, where shippers and forwarders and airlines and tracking companies working together with one thing, actually to minimize the risk, to optimize the process, and this kind of I would say not innovations, but this kind of improving in processes is helping everyone in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. And then you touched on data there. I did want to ask you this in terms of the amount of information you're having to handle now on a daily basis, and the amount of data points coming in has changed hugely, I presume, in the last 5 or 10 years from where you started. Are we at a point where it's too much data, or how do you manage things day to day from your end?
Well, I mean, I can now speak about the CCA members who are into this segment, and yes, they have. I mean, data is always good as long as you collect data, create a profile, identify bottlenecks, and come up with suggestions how to improve them. But I think what we discuss in our association quite often is that there is already now, again, so much data, but it looks like in our industry we are still not working in silos, but we're trying to keep our information more for us than sharing it. And I'm sure it's been shared in a different way, but we see it sometimes. Some of our members tell us, if they have to make a cup, or if they have to identify what went wrong, it takes also a lot of time, because you need to ask everyone in the supply chain, what were your findings, collect the data, and give it back to the customer. While if it would have been integrated all the time that you have it, then maybe things would be faster. So we get from our members in our association this type of information. Of course, there are some, let's say, airlines, forwarders, shippers working much closer together than others. Fact is, the data is there. And sometimes this is a feeling. Maybe this is a gut expression now, or stomach expression. We're lost in this type of data.
Yeah. Yeah, no, agreed. I think, yeah, I totally agree. And mention cold corridors there. And what's your opinion on them? Do you see them as a genuine innovation that's adding huge value? And are there certain problems or challenges you see in sort of implementing them over the next 5 years?
Well, cool corridor, I read exactly like you in the news, which companies have publicized now cool corridor. Sometimes, I mean, we need to ask ourselves, what do we mean with a cool corridor? Obviously, I think it has a lot to do with packaging, and has a lot to do with sustainability. I think the industry, everyone is working towards that, and I think it's no secret that if I just take one or two members of our association, they're producing sustainable thermal blankets, without now mentioning the name, but there's one company out there producing thermal blanket out of paper, which is a great innovation. Why is it good? I guess it's good because it's sustainable. Why? Because you can use it, you can reuse it, even though you have to eventually throw it away to pick it up, and you can work that out to make a new thermal blanket. I think that is for me one element of the cool corridor where we try eventually shippers try to have a different packaging that or trying to eventually, which is difficult, to have, if you go away from passive and active packaging and you eventually try to get the same quality, it may be challenging. And that's why you cannot use eventually, I don't know, I'm also not that expert on that, but maybe you cannot use the cool corridor for small packages for Euro pallet. Maybe you need to have full aircraft pallets, wrapped up with thermal blanket to make the best out of it. But I think it's happening that more and more, let's say, companies going towards this cool corridor. And again, it would be interesting to find out how each and every individual company analyzing what the cool corridor is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And just touching on the pharma by air piece, because obviously you've had so much experience in it. What are the early warning signs that tell you a shipment is at risk before anything actually drifts or nothing's really showing? Are there things in your experience where you're always looking where those problems are coming down the road?
Of course, the early signs you will always see when you have a control tower where you follow the shipment. So meaning before it comes to a deviation, that you actually can capture this information and stop it from a deviation. It's an interesting topic, Thomas. A problem also can be that you book something, you bring it to the ocean freight, or you bring it to the truck, or you bring it to the airline, and you're expecting it. Okay, I delivered it on Monday, and maybe it will spot shipped, or it will fly the day after, or a couple of hours later. These are moments of truth, which is happening in logistics. We wish that everything would be flat, but it's like this sometimes, where you need to improvise, right? If you say, okay, I don't know, the RFI is broken down, or the ocean freight cannot leave, or the aircraft has a problem. Okay, then you go back to your processes, which you actually developed over the last years in training, and people know exactly what to do. Okay, eventually, in this case, if an aircraft delayed, we ensure that the goods are still maintained in a proper temperature, let's say in the warehouse before we deliver it. And I think these are the kind of things. If you go now to shippers and big, let's say 3PLs in this world, where they have invested a lot in control towers, they have the whole, how can I say, the whole information, and eventually they are the ones also who will see exactly, okay, on this shipment going to this destination, hang on a moment, it's gone out of range. We need to inform. And this is also another technicality. Yes, you see maybe there is a temperature deviation and you immediately act to everyone, but you need also to know the process, because if you open a truck to bring it to the warehouse, if you're measuring outside temperature, you obviously will have a deviation. But it's unavoidable because you need to take the goods out of the warehouse, out of the truck to bring it to the warehouse. You maybe have the same challenge when you take it out of your temperature control facilities to put it eventually in a pallet in order to bring it to the aircraft. And even there, you will have a temperature deviation. So whoever has this type of control towers, you need to really also, the people who are behind the control towers, it is actually advisable to know the process of your suppliers. Otherwise, you were ending up having every 5 minutes deviation, which is eventually not the case.
Yeah. And when things do go wrong, say if you do see a temperature excursion or whatever else, where typically is that happening most, and what are the main reasons that you're seeing problems?
I think quoting from members of the CCA, quite often in air freight, still they talk about the tarmac. It's always the tarmac. And then again, I think we need to be realistic. I can always say, I can invite every shipper to come to go to a trucking company, to go to ocean freight, or to come to an airline, see their processes, identify how challenging sometimes this industry can be. However, I believe if we all work together, and again comes the collaboration, work together, know exactly what each party can do, I think we have much better chances to succeed than just overselling and not achieving it. So I think for over the last years being in the CCA and also in the company I'm working for, I believe that, and we can see that if you sit down together in table, and you are honest and you say to the customer, look, I cannot do this. You have to be able to say this also. If you expect me, we have this discussion with CCA. If you expect an airline to be, 20 minutes in the tarmac, we need to be able to say this is not possible. And I think by understanding this, because I understand the ones who are producing pharmaceutical goods, which is needed around the world to help patients, to help people, I understand they expect from you to fly it from A to B. But in order to fly in from A to B, you need also to understand the requirements of what is needed. And it's still, they ask you, please transport it 2 to 8 or 15 to 25. It sounds easy, but as long as we have so many components in between, that's, I think, where sometimes the challenge comes. And
Yeah.
you ask me what is before, it's confirmed also within our association that quite often the tarmac is the challenging part.
Yeah. And do you think that, is there a way in the future that the tarmac time could be reduced even further? I'm sure you're extremely efficient today, and obviously your processes are very good, but is there technology innovations that could improve things? Are there SOPs or handling innovations or infrastructure changes that might improve it? What's your views on that?
I think my views is it remains the same if there are different processes for different modes of transportation. And if you already park now to close proximity in a warehouse, I'm not quite sure you can go closer. And I'm not quite sure people maybe think maybe we can build up how do you say foldable what is it called in English, foldable tunnels where you can, yeah, this is all nice, but I don't think it's happening. I remember we used to have a sales manager in Belgium. He always said keep it simple, and at the time I was laughing. I now understood what he meant. Really, the simpler you keep it, the better is it. Don't make it complex, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's already, as I said to you before, I think there is so much technology which has developed in this industry. But I think by just coming together and eventually work together, I still believe we can succeed and deliver. And we showed it to the world that this industry could deliver during COVID. I think that was one of the good examples, which even now we capitalize from that.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your big learning from COVID? What did you take from that experience?
It's probably the old example. People cannot hear about it, but I think the biggest learning was that if humans want to work together, it is all possible. Because we all somehow, I feel, maybe it's the wrong word, but if fear kicks in and you maybe be also, one of the not victim, but one of the patients, and you realize that around you there is a lot of panic, then it was amazing how we could sit together, have team calls, open up the books. That's what we can do. That was of course great. Is it now fading out? Well, maybe it's harsh to say, but it's at that time we really proved it is doable.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you would have lent on your partners a lot during that period, and on IATA's cargo expert panel, you pushed for real collaboration and
Hmm.
transparency in pharma logistics.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that? Talk us through that discussion and what sort of came out of it.
Yeah, at TCA, we're strong believers in collaboration. What do you believe with collaboration? Collaboration, if you go and I think and read what it means, is actually open books. Right? You share your book with some others, and that's why we say it's easy to say collaboration, but if we start scratching the surface and go deeper, are we really opening our books in the sense of sharing our operations? And I think that's what we meant. And I know that IATA has this, I think, what is it? Don't quote me on that if it's not wrong, but I think they have Cargo One, where they collect all the information about airlines, ground handlings, and there is a lot of information actually available. But information one thing, and collaboration is not only sharing this type of process, but really working together. Again, in a smaller scale, it works. But I think until this air freight industry will be able to collaborate with every part of the supply chain, I think, yeah, I will not say it's a wishful thinking, but it will take time. So collaboration is one word, but and you have companies who actually investing in information in order to find. I don't know. I take now some companies like I cannot mention names, otherwise then you suggest someone. But there are companies who collect so data and they can see already right now what is the operation theory and what is the operation excellence. That's I think what for me collaboration means. Collaboration means walk and act, or act and walk, or do things what you said you would do, and don't try to find excuses. Because if you made a mistake, mistakes will happen. We cannot avoid this. Thanks God, we are still humans. We are not robots. And even robots would make mistakes. If you falsely, how do you say, program them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Is there a region globally that's very difficult in terms of shipping by air into over the last few years that you've seen, or more challenging?
I think in Europe, a lot of the big airports, they understood the importance of temperature control to cargo, be it perishables or pharmaceuticals. They have invested in ground handling. They have dedicated facilities. But sometimes I feel, I don't know, if you go to North America, is sometimes is a challenging part. And there are airports who are working on that. These
Yeah.
are the ones I can say. Again, even I would say again, even if you don't have the facilities, I think if you work with all the people together and inform them is coming up, we need this and this and this, you can still deliver
Hmm.
with minimal.
Yeah.
But yes, I can only say that no facility is the same.
Yeah.
No facility is the same. The same thing like ocean freight. No port is the same. You always have challenges.
Hmm.
And I think as an industry, we need to overcome these challenges. And again, I just can say if I see through my members and these conferences I've been, when I see what Europe or ground handling agents have invested, it's already great. And I'm sure in other regions slowly it will come also.
Yeah. Okay. And then if we look to sort of, you talked about sustainability a little bit there, and everyone wants to cut waste, obviously, in their supply chains. And where can we do that without adding risk or cost in your experience? What kind of things you've seen from your members that have been really good?
I think, well, members are using, I don't know, it starts with biodegradable plastic to cover the aircraft pallets. They're using carton beams in order to overcome the wooden beams which you need to put in a pallet. Airlines are investing heavily in pharmaceutical companies, review I mean, we were now in Vienna a few months ago, actually in April in Vienna, at Pharma, where you realize that a lot of shippers reviewing their packaging
Hmm.
to basically have maybe they over engineer the packaging. They're trying to find ways to become more sustainable on that. Eventually, that's where also cool corridor comes in. So I think there are still ways to become more sustainable in a step by step. So if the shippers start with their packaging and the ground handling is starting with, as I said, with biodegradable plastic, which you cover every pallet, and the airline, using, if possible, wherever material which can be reused. I think this is step by step. That's what is happening. And in Vienna, I think that was one of the also since now 2 years where sustainability and what you can do is something which is needed in the industry, also in the packaging.
Mm.
For a lot of these years I'm around pharmaceutical company. Most of their packaging was, for example, up to 120, 130, and you could not stack. Now there are innovations where you can double stack. Why double stack? Yeah, because you can also use other cargo carriers. So there is a lot of things happening. You have also a company which I cannot say the name otherwise again, who is actually simulating packaging, which it was not used before 10 years ago because this company didn't exist. So if you want to do simulation, you had to basically send the shipment all the way around the world to simulate how the packaging is performing based on the outside temperature you will have.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. And so I know we're sort of very much up against time here and coming to the end of
Yeah,
the session,
yeah.
but I just wanted to sort of get I suppose, your future outlook, Stavros, just the next 2 or 3 years. What do you think might change, or where do you think things are headed? And what's the sort of thing you'd like people to take away from the conversation today?
If you would have asked me this question 10 years ago, you would have been able to reply what eventually could happen 2 years ago. In the momentary and geopolitical situation, this world is finding itself. Sometimes I feel you don't know what will happen tomorrow. But I think humanity is always, how can I say, is always strong to come up with great solutions, even sometimes it's dark on the other side. What I would like to see, I mean, I'm not going to be for a long time, I would say, around this industry because I've done also my years. I'm not the youngest anymore, but I think I would like that the pharmaceutical, let's say that this industry, the people and the companies we're working with, they have trust and faith in our capabilities because we're trying our very best to overcome sometimes every challenge we are facing for the benefit of the customer and to deliver what they asked us to do. Again, sometimes we not 100% achieve everything, but I think let's make no mistake, whether you're a trucking company, whether ocean freight, you're an airline, we're a ground handling agent, a forwarder, we all try to optimize the process in such a way that the outcome for the customer, actually the one eventually who is paying the money, is to his satisfaction. And ultimately, if we transport pharmaceutical goods, that this type of, there are pharmaceutical commodities. I mean, how can I say? Not every pharmaceutical commodity is as strict to maintain the temperature eventually like certain commodities. What I mean is that if it is important that when we can deliver that the patient who's going to get this, let's say, product inside his body is in accordance as we should have delivered. And I think that's why quality is important. That's why process is important. That's why training is important. Everybody says about training. Remember, at the end of the day, you mentioned before, SOP, service level agreement, and all this is great. But if you don't translate this SOP to the person who is going to do the build-up of the commodities, then an SOP is also not meaningless, but difficult. So again, I hope I was able to answer a little bit to your question. I think for me, it's important that deliver what we promise, overcoming challenges, but let's make no mistake, this industry and the air freight industry, in the last 35 years I'm around, we always try to deliver at the best for the forwarder.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, this is also what we want in our association to actually to be the connection between all these suppliers to give advices, because we're learning from each other.
And if people want to get in contact with you, Stavros, and CCA specifically, what's the best way they can do that?
They can go to our webpage, www.coolchain.org. We have quite a lot of information. We have a chat booth, which is also speaking to you, so can give all the information. Until then, it comes obviously to a human, which is going to get in contact.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. It was a brilliant conversation. You covered a huge amount of ground. So thank you, Stavros.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Thomas.
Pleasure. You've been listening to Cold Chain Insights. My name's Thomas Hunt. Please join us next week for our next guest, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.